Shocking things Genghis Khan did to his slaves. Did you know that there's a good chance you might be a descendant of Genghis Khan? It's estimated that 1 in every 200 men today possess his genetic marker. How did Genghis Khan manage to spread his genetic material so widely? Stay tuned till the end to know the astonishing fact. Genghis Khan, the ruler who carved a bloody path across Asia, building one of the largest empires the world has ever seen. But what about the people behind the great Khan? Today we're diving into the dark side of his conquests, uncovering the shocking ways Genghis Khan treated his slaves. Our story starts not with Genghis Khan, but with a young boy named Temujin. Born into a nomadic tribe on the harsh Mongolian steppe, Temujin's childhood was marked by hardship. His father, a chieftain, was poisoned, leaving the family ostracized and struggling to survive. This harsh upbringing undoubtedly shaped Temujin's ruthless ambition. Fast forward through years of struggle and betrayal, Temujin emerges as a cunning and charismatic leader, uniting rival Mongol tribes under his banner. Through strategic alliances and fierce military tactics, he built a formidable force. Victory snowballed into conquests, and by the early 13th century, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe, the largest contiguous land empire in history. But how did he manage to control such a vast territory? The answer lies partly in Genghis Khan's ruthless use of slavery. Here's the key. Conquest wasn't just about land, it was about people. Captured populations were brutally subjugated. Men were often conscripted into the Mongol army, while women and children became slaves, a massive, readily available workforce to fuel the empire's expansion. This wasn't just about the cheap labor, though. Slavery was a tool of terror and control. By enslaving entire populations, Genghis Khan instilled fear in conquered peoples, discouraging rebellions and solidifying his grip on power. In the coming segments, we'll explore just how brutal that control could be. Now let's see what life was truly like for Genghis Khan's slaves. Imagine this: entire populations ripped from their homes, families torn apart and thrown into a brutal system of forced labor. These weren't skilled artisans, they were human machines, used to fuel the insatiable hunger of the Mongol Empire. Their tasks were backbreaking and seemingly endless. They toiled under the scorching sun, building grand cities like Karakorum, the Mongol capital. They hauled massive stones, laid miles of road across unforgiving terrain, and dug vast irrigation canals. The tools were primitive, the work relentless, food was scarce, and sanitation non-existent. These weren't just harsh conditions, they were death sentences for many. Disease spread like wildfire through the exhausted and malnourished workforce. Injuries, both minor and catastrophic, often went untreated, leading to infections and gruesome deaths. The number of slaves who perished during this period is staggering, a testament to the brutal efficiency of the Mongol system. The brutality wasn't solely focused on backbreaking labor. Women and children, especially those deemed attractive, faced a different kind of horror. They were often taken as concubines for Mongol leaders and soldiers. This wasn't a life of pampering, it was forced servitude with a thin veneer of luxury. While Mongol elites reveled in opulent tents adorned with silks and furs, the women who served them were little more than possessions. They faced constant sexual exploitation and the constant threat of violence. They became part of the Mongol elite's harem, serving the sexual desires of the Khans and their warriors. Life for these women wasn't much easier. They were trophies of conquests, objects of power rather than human beings. While some might have enjoyed the modicum of comfort, the constant threat of violence and the psychological burden of their situation were undeniable. We've seen how Genghis Khan used slaves for brutal labor and to maintain his own luxurious lifestyle, but the darkness goes even deeper. He also employed slaves as weapons of psychological warfare, inflicting a different kind of terror on his enemies. Imagine this: a city under siege by the Mongol army. Instead of facing a traditional line of Mongol warriors, the defenders see a horrifying sight. Rows upon rows of their own people, captured slaves, forced to the front lines as human shields. Knowing they can't attack without harming their own kin, the defenders' morale crumbles. This tactic, as shocking as it is cruel, proved devastatingly effective in breaking down resistance. Genghis Khan also used slaves to spread misinformation and sow discord among his enemies. Infiltrators, often women and children who had learned the enemy language and customs, would be sent into enemy cities to spread rumors about the Mongol army's size and ruthlessness. This psychological warfare played on people's deepest fears, often leading to panic and internal conflict within the targeted cities, making them easier to conquer. The human cost of these tactics is immeasurable. Slaves were not just pawns in a strategic game, they were living sacrifices, their lives and well-being a chilling message to anyone who dared to oppose the Mongol Empire. Life as a slave under Genghis Khan wasn't just about backbreaking labor and psychological torment. Disobedience, even minor infractions, was met with a swift and horrifying response. Fear was the glue that held the Mongol Empire together, and Genghis Khan made sure the punishment for breaking the rules was a fate worse than death. Slaves caught trying to escape wouldn't be met with a simple flogging. Their punishment could be as horrifying as being boiled alive in a giant cauldron. Other gruesome methods included crushing under the weight of a passing herd of horses or being slowly crushed under heavy stones. The condemned would be tied spread-eagled to the ground as horses were driven over them, their bones shattering under the weight of thundering hooves. These weren't just punishments, they were public spectacles designed to terrify the entire slave population into absolute obedience. The fear wasn't just for physical transgressions. The Mongols also punished any perceived slight to their culture or religion. Failure to show proper respect to a Mongol leader or refusing to convert to their belief system could result in a torturous death. This harsh system served as a chilling purpose, to completely break the will of the conquered people, turning them into a submissive and easily controlled workforce. But what was his most shocking method of control? Find out next. The cruelty of Genghis Khan's rule extended beyond mere punishment. He employed a chilling strategy designed to twist human bonds to his own gain, enforced loyalty through cruelty. Imagine this scenario. A captured warrior, a father of a young family. He's offered a horrifying choice: complete obedience, becoming an instrument of the Mongol war machine, or witness the brutal execution of his entire family. Wife, children, everyone he holds dear. This wasn't an empty threat. Genghis Khan was infamous for carrying out such executions, leaving a trail of devastation and despair in his wake. This tactic exploited the deepest human emotions, love and fear. By forcing a slave to choose between their own survival and the lives of their loved ones, Genghis Khan created a twisted form of loyalty. These coerced collaborators, often forced to participate in the subjugation of their own people, became a terrifyingly effective tool for control. The psychological impact of such cruelty is immeasurable. Imagine the burden of such a choice, the constant fear, the gnawing guilt. This tactic not only broke resistance, but it sowed discord with communities, turning potential allies into unwilling collaborators. It's important to remember that this wasn't just about controlling slaves. This tactic sent a chilling message to anyone considering rebellion. The Mongols weren't just conquering lands, they were conquering hearts and minds, instilling a paralyzing fear that choked any spark of defiance before it could become a flame. While the Mongol Empire was vast and powerful, it wasn't a homogeneous society. Even within the brutal war of slavery, there were distinct layers. At the very bottom of the ladder were the general laborers. These were the unfortunate souls who toiled away on construction projects, building cities, roads, and canals. Their lives were brutal, filled with relentless work, harsh conditions, and a constant threat of death from exhaustion, malnutrition, or disease. A step above them were those with specialized skills, carpenters, blacksmiths, and other artisans who were considered valuable assets. While they still faced harsh conditions, their skills offered a degree of protection. They were less likely to be outright killed, as their labor directly benefited the Mongol elite. Women and children faced a different kind of hardship. Those deemed attractive were often separated from the workforce and forced into concubinage. Life as a concubine wasn't easy, but it offered a slight reprieve from the back-breaking labor endured by most slaves. However, this privilege came at a terrible cost. They were viewed as possessions, objects of the Khan's desires, with little to no control over their own lives. A unique position was occupied by military slaves. These were typically captured warriors who were forced to integrate into the Mongol army. While they faced the dangers of combat, they also received training, equipment, and a chance to rise through the ranks. The most skilled and loyal could even achieve positions of power within the Mongol military hierarchy. It's important to remember, however, that even these privileged slaves remained entirely at the whim of the Mongol masters. Disobedience, regardless of skill or social standing, could result in the same horrific punishments faced by all slaves. Genghis Khan's legacy is a complex one. He was a brilliant military strategist who built a vast empire, but the foundation of that empire was built on the backs and broken bodies of millions of slaves. Their stories are a chilling reminder of the darkest aspects of human history. Earlier in the video, we posed the intriguing question: how did Genghis Khan manage to spread his genetic material so widely that nearly 1 in 200 men today carry his genetic marker? Well, let's uncover this fascinating answer. Genghis Khan spread his genetic material widely through extensive polygamy and concubinage, fathering many children across his vast empire. His descendants continued this practice, further proliferating his genes, which are now found in about 1 in 200 men globally. If you found this exploration of Genghis Khan's dark side fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more intriguing history videos. Thank you for joining us on this journey through a dark chapter in history. Remember, the past holds lessons for the present. By understanding the horrors of the past, we can work towards a brighter future where human rights are valued and protected.